Hello, it's been a year since I started this channel and I want to commemorate that by doing what everyone else does, which is doing what I made in so and so year video. It is kind of jumping on the bandwagon, but at the same time, I kind of feel like summarizing the year. So I hope you guys want to follow along and see the process, see the journey. And I just want us to have like a dress up, because why can't adults dress up more? Please get comfortable. I'm gonna get a cup of tea and let's jump into it. Now, for those of you who haven't worked with a green screen before, it is fun and frustrating in equal measure. So this was the first thing I made on this channel, a bra. And I'd never done this before, and this was really like a test for me. And it felt scary and difficult. Turned out it wasn't. So it's a pattern called Shelly Bra by Pinup Girls. I have used this a lot, which is one of the reasons I'm not showing you guys too much actual footage of it now, because it is kind of washed out and a bit, yeah, you know. So here's a spring dress that I made early this year, around spring. It is a Vogue pattern. It is sewn in the most expensive fabric I've ever purchased, which was from Liberty Fabrics in London. It's a wonderful light spring dress. The only problem with it is it has a tendency to go all Marilyn Monroe on me. If there is a gust of wind, I have to be careful walking over bridges and stuff like that, because the fabric is so lightweight and it is quite a wide skirt. Now here is the first corset I made. So this is the Freedom corset. Again, it's a Pinup Girls pattern. It's sewn in a wool fabric, so it's sort of meant to be more of a kind of corset top, not like an underwear type garment. Something I could use with like a shirt maybe. As a first corset, I'm super happy with this. There are some minor things here and there that I would have done differently. This has Ridgeline boning in it and it is quite wide, so I could have used a more narrow steel boning or something like that. But as a whole, I'm super happy with this. So I think this was a good like a starter project. Here is my first underbust corset. I haven't made a lot of underbust corsets since this one, and that is just mainly because I don't feel as comfortable in them. The fact that it ends kind of mid-back, you kind of get the back cleavage. I'm happy with the look of this, and it is quite effectful, and it was fun making something a bit more out of bits and bobs that I had laying around. Now, on to more cottagecore vibe. I had a cottagecore phase in spring, and that's when I made this corset. It is a pattern called Emma Breeze. I'm gonna link the patterns and stuff like that below. And I've used this quite a bit. The one thing that I'm not like super big fan of is the fact that it ends on the waist rather than below the waist. So I ended up changing this pattern for later projects because I liked the whole shape of it. I just didn't feel that comfortable with it ending right on the waist instead of below the waist. So Now this one is very similar to the one that I showed before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This one has a busk, and it was the first one that I ever made with a busk. So it was more like a practice project for that, to learn how to put in the busk. And I've used this a bit more than the other underbust corset, just because I feel like it's less in your face in terms of aesthetic. It was an important turning point, because after that I felt more comfortable putting in busks in other corsets as well. Now, one of the very few, what's it called? Bustier, something like that, that I made is this one, which is a diamond bustier from, again, Pinup Girls. I had a phase where I used a lot of Pinup Girls patterns just because I'd never done underwear, and it was a really good place to start, I feel. And I wanted to make it see-through, where you could see the boning and everything like that. It sort of looks underwear-esque, but I wanted it to be more like something you would put on top of something else, really. I would prefer to have it like over a shirt maybe, or something like that, just to kind of spice it up a bit. It was quite successful. There is something about the elastic on the bottom here, and it going like almost down to the waist, but not quite. It does create less than flattering bump on the waist, but I love the aesthetic, and I'm still super happy with this project. Now this was a fun one. So this was my Anna from Frozen 2 travel dress inspired corset. This is the first one where I did embroidery and stuff like that on a corset. As such, it was like a bigger and bit more ambitious project. So I did embroidery in the front, and I did especially this embroidery in the back, which is the kind of pattern she has on her dress. And I really tried to find the colors and everything to make it sort of reminiscent of that dress she's wearing. I really love this corset, and I would still really love to make a skirt for it and use it especially as an alternative to the traditional Norwegian National Day outfit. This one I'm super happy with, and I see a lot of uses for this in the future. And this is the first one where I extended the Emma Breeze corset below the waist, and I have used that pattern again for a lot of different projects as well. Now on to my first sort of recreation, the corset that Keira Knightley wears as Anna Karenina in the Anna Karenina movie. And I had a lot of fun trying to get this right. It was frustrating at times, and I struggled a lot with it, but I also feel like it was such a process of learning, and I mostly drafted this corset. I think it's still one of my favorites because I like the structure of it, I like the shape of it, and it's also the first one where I used the spoon busk. This is also the first time I did flossing. I wasn't sure I was going to show you guys this because I haven't ironed it, and it's very wrinkly. It's just recently been washed and stuff like that, but please forgive me for that. But this is a pair of linen shorts that I made. I'm gonna show you guys the actual footage from before when I made it. They are based on a Simplicity pants pattern. This was more like a smaller fun project after the big corset project that was the Anna Karenina corset, less work intensive kind of thing. And I've used it a lot, so I'm very happy with it. So more like a fun in-between kind of project. Now, moving on to my very first bikini. And this is made based on the classic pattern from Pinup Girls. It is fully lined and it has like all the details you would want from a bikini. It has the clasp in the back. I'm very happy with this one. It is a bit pointy for me. I think as a whole, maybe I prefer the Shelly bra pattern over the classic just because I feel like it can round off the cup a bit more, but it was a super learning experience and I have used it quite a bit. This is the chemise that I made as part of my Elizabeth Swann costume outfit. I made this based off her nightgown and also the chemise that she wears under the corset in the film. It's a nice undergarment for a lot of corsets, I feel. And here is the corset. So it's kind of hard to show on camera because it's quite big. This is based off of a historical pattern. So I elongated the boning channels for the front. I made a slightly different lace up in the front just because the lace up in the movie was really particular, and I also used this kind of piping in certain places just to get that detail from the film as well. I think I could have used a smaller size boning for this because it's all spiral steel and it's so much. You have all these little bits of boning around the corset, so it is quite heavy, but it does feel really good on, and it's sturdy. It's really sturdy. This autumn, I did a whole thing where I tried to figure out my aesthetic. I feel like a lot of people who sew on YouTube have a very clear aesthetic, and I wanted to try to figure mine out. And I landed on a dark academia style, and I wanted to make something to sort of get me started. And so I made this wool skirt. And I have used this a lot, and I'm super happy with this skirt. It has a lot of details that I love, especially the pockets that are sort of hidden in the seam that also have the wool lining. So it's so nice in the winter. I used this over Christmas. So this one I'm super happy with. It's based on the vintage pattern that I found online. I had to do a lot in terms of getting the size right because it was like a one size pattern and it was not in my size, so I just had to. It was a success in the end, which I'm really happy about. So the next thing I made was this corset right here, which is inspired by one of the characters from ACOTAR, which is a book series that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. So I read these books last summer, I think, and I was so swept away. So I wanted to make corsets based off of some of the main characters. And I made it using leather from a skirt my mom had in the 90s. And I also did some embroidering of the cups and everything. And this was a really fun project. I think maybe the busk is slightly too long for me. And I would have liked it to be even more like dramatic in terms of shape and everything. But except for that, I'm really happy with it. Now, the next one. So this is my QR code corset. So if you guys want to give it a try. Did it work? I made this for a convention. I was going to make it for a convention, but I totally underestimated the time it would take to embroider this whole thing. So it ended up just being like a fun project for a video and something that I can wear to later conventions and stuff like that. It does work, and it was really fun to do something a bit out of the box and like an experiment. Onto another corset. No one is surprised by that, I think. So this is my Christmas corset that I made for Christmas this year, and this was made using Mandy Barrington's book, Stays and Corsets, Historical Patterns Translated for the Modern Body. And this was so fun because it's the first time I really did this kind of actual quilting where there is like a foam layer in between, cording on these panels, and it's just so full of details. Super happy with this. I really want to make more corset using this pattern, but maybe a bit more subdued or muted color palette wise. Now we're on to the final one, and I included this in the video, even though the video of this didn't come out until this January, but I started this in September of 2023. This is my spring corset, again inspired by a character in the ACOTAR books. So this was supposed to be like a really feminine, floral, and kind of soft and gentle corset. It's the first time I put cups in a corset and I got the fit that I wanted, and I feel like after having sort of worked my way through this project, I feel like I can use this pattern for a lot of other fun stuff. I have some ideas for 2024. This was also the most extensive one that I've done in terms of embroidery, which is the main reason why it took so long to finish. I feel like this sort of sums up what I have learned this year, sewing wise. So that was all of them, and I feel like I've had progress, hopefully. I hope you guys have enjoyed this throwback with me, and I hope you guys will continue to appreciate the content in 2024. If you have any input, please let me know, and if you want to support the channel, subscribe, like the video, please share it with people who might be interested. If you want to support more directly, Patreon page, I have a link to that below. And to my lovely Patreons already, thank you for helping me do this. I hope you guys want to continue on this journey with me into 2024, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.